when the fig tree ceases to bloom, and there is no fruit in the vines, when the labor of the olive shall fail, and the field shall yield no meat, when the flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herd in the stalls, then, and often not until then, will our souls learn to rejoice in the Lord only, and to joy in the God of our salvation. Paul declared that he counted all things but loss that he might win Christ. And when we learn to say the same, the peace and joy that the gospel promises become our permanent possession. What iniquity, asked the Lord of the children of Israel, have your fathers found in me that they are gone far from me, and have walked after vanity? For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. Like the Israelites, we too forsake the fountain of living waters and try to hew out for ourselves cisterns of our own devising. We seek to slack our thirst with our own experiences or our own activities, and then wonder that we still thirst. And it is to save us from perishing for want of water that the Lord finds it necessary to destroy our broken cisterns, since only so can we be forced to drink from the fountain of living waters. We are told that if we trust in vanity, vanity shall be our recompense. And many a time have we found this to be true. Have you ever crossed a dangerous swamp abounding in quicksands, where every step was a risk, and where firm-licking hillocks continually deceived you into a false dependence, causing you to sink in the mire and water concealed beneath their deceptive appearances? If you have, you will be able to understand what it means to trust in vanity, and you will appreciate the blessedness of any dispensation that shall discover to you the rottenness of your false dependencies, and shall drive you to trust in that which is safe and permanent. When our feet are walking on miry clay, we can have nothing but welcome for the divine guide who shall bring us out from the clay and shall set our feet upon a rock and establish our goings, even though the ways in which he calls us to walk may seem narrow and hard. The prophet Jeremiah, when lamenting the sins of his people, says, "We have made lies our refuge, and under falsehoods have we hid ourselves." And he adds that the Lord had declared he would sweep away the refuge of lies and would cause the waters to overflow the hiding place. It might look, as far as the outward seeming goes, as though it was God's wrath that did this, and many a frightened Christian thinks it is. But his wrath is only against the refuges of lies, not against us. And love could do no less than destroy these refuges in order that we may be delivered. It is always a painful process, and often a most discouraging one. Everything seems unstable, and rest seems utterly unattainable. No sooner do we find an experience or a doctrine in which we think we may surely rest, that a great shaking comes, and we are forced out again. And this process must continue until all that can be shaken is removed, and only those things which cannot be shaken remain. Often, the answer to our most fervent prayers for deliverance comes in such a form that it seems as if the very foundations of the hills moved and were shaken. And we do not always see at first that it is by means of this very shaking that the deliverance for which we have prayed is to be accomplished, and we are to be brought forth into the large place for which we long. The old mystics used to teach what they called detachment, meaning the cutting loose of the soul from all that could hold it back from God. This need for detachment is the secret of many of our shakings. We cannot follow the Lord fully so long as we are tied fast to anything else, any more than a boat can sail out into the boundless ocean so long as it is tied fast to the shore. If we could reach the city which hath sure and steadfast foundations, we must go out like Abraham from all other cities, and must be detached from every earthly tie. Everything in Abraham's life that could be shaken was shaken. He was, as it were, emptied from vessel to vessel, here today and gone tomorrow. All his resting places were disturbed, and no settlement or comfort anywhere. We, like Abraham, are looking for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God, and therefore we too shall need to be emptied from vessel to vessel. But we do not realize this, and when the overturnings and shakings come, we are in despair and think we shall never reach the city that hath foundations at all. But it is these very shakings that make it possible for us to reach it. The psalmist had learned this, and after all the shakings and emptying of his eventful life, he cried, "My soul, wait thou upon God, for my expectation is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. In God is my salvation and my glory. The rock of my strength and my refuge is in God." At last, God was everything to him, and then he found that God was enough. And it is the same with us. When everything in our lives and experience is shaken that can be shaken, and only that which cannot be shaken remains, we are brought to see that God only is our rock and our foundation, and we learn to have our expectation from him alone. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. Shall not be moved. What an inspiring declaration. Can it be possible that we, who are so easily moved by the things of earth, can arrive at a place where nothing can upset our temper or disturb our calm? Yes, it is possible. And the Apostle Paul knew it. When he was on his way to Jerusalem, where he foresaw that bonds and afflictions awaited him, he could say triumphantly, "But none of these things move me." Everything in Paul's life and experience that could be shaken had been shaken, and he no longer counted his life or any of life's possessions dear unto him. And we, if we but let God have his way with us, may come to the same place, so that neither the fret and fear of the little things of life, nor its great and heavy trials, can have power to move us from the peace that passeth all understanding, which is declared to be the portion of those who have learned to rest only on God. In that wonderful revelation made to John in the isle that is called Patmos, where the Spirit tells to the churches what awaits those who overcome, we have a statement that expresses in striking terms just what I mean. "Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out." To be as immovable as a pillar in the house of our God is an end for which one would gladly endure all the shakings and unbottomings that may be necessary to bring us there. Wherefore, we, receiving a kingdom that cannot be moved, let us have grace whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear, for our God is a consuming fire. A great many people are afraid of the consuming fire of God, but that is only because they do not understand what it is. It is the fire of God's love that must, in the very nature of things, consume everything that can harm his people. And if our hearts are set on being what the love of God would have us be, his fire is something we shall not be afraid of, but shall warmly welcome. Implacable is love. Foes may be bought or teased from their malign intent, but he goes unappeased who is on kindness bent. Let us thank God, then, that he is on kindness bent toward us, and that the consuming fire of his love will not cease to burn until it has refined us as silver is refined. For the promise is that he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purge us as gold and silver are purged, in order that we may offer unto him an offering in righteousness. And he gives us this inspiring assurance that if we will but submit to this purifying process, we shall become pleasant unto the Lord, and all nations shall call us blessed, for ye shall be a delightsome land, saith the Lord of hosts. To be pleasant and delightsome to the Lord may seem to us impossible when we look at our shortcomings and our unworthiness. But when we think of this lovely, consuming fire of God's love, we can be of good heart and take courage, for he will not fail nor be discouraged until all our dross and reprobate silver is burned up, and we ourselves come forth in his likeness and are conformed to his image. Our souls long for the kingdom which cannot be moved, and he who is on kindness bent will, if we let him, shake everything in our lives that can be shaken, and will unbottom us off every false rest, until only that which cannot be shaken shall remain.